flashing light. And then there's this guy just sitting there.
Yeah, how does a law enforcement agency investigate cases like this when there's that conspiracy theory groups that come up with these outlandish claims or rabbit holes?
Well, just because it's crazy doesn't mean it's not true. I appreciate that there's a community that wants to go down the rabbit hole of UFOs. I don't have a way with which to pursue that. And so,
but I am for sure and certain that there is a form of a really advanced physics or an area of physics that we have never seen, a level of technology that we do not have the capabilities of. And it's almost terrifying.
Hello, friends. Hello. It's so nice to see you. How are you doing this evening? It is Thursday evening, and we are talking UFOs. It's interesting because last week when I did my UFO update, it didn't seem like there was much going on other than kind of this framed nonsense with Obama and Trump. But this week, there's been some very interesting developments in the space that I think is absolutely worth talking about. You're watching Gabriel Speaks podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you haven't done those things, I really appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. Thank you so much. So to start out with, Eric Burlison was recently on the Weaponized podcast. And if you caught the beginning, you heard the snippet of him saying that to a degree, this stuff is terrifying. And he's been on the UAP Task Force essentially since there's been a UAP Task Force. He has gone down all the rabbit holes, I guess, that make sense to him we know Luna, Representative Luna, who is also in that task force, has kind of made it clear that she believes what we're seeing are angelic and demonic entities, and that it's a tale as old as time, I guess, that has been weaving itself in and out of our history since we've had one, and we're just perceiving them in this certain way, in this certain context, almost kind of signing on to the Pasolka sort of approach and theory that except Pasolka says it's like it's forming its own religion, whereas Luna kind of implies it is the same, Abrahamic Judeo-Christian religion and the angels and demons from those times, but they have changed with the time. So kind of different in that sense. Personally, I don't know. I don't know if I'm like the rest of you trying to figure it out and sort through the nonsense, because this is a subject that they just dump so much nonsense into. And you understand some of the reasons, right? When there's a subject like this where there's a lack of a lot of proof, that there's going to be people that take advantage and that grift on that. Like, it's not like it's a highly regulated field of study. We have MUFON, who's kind of the state-to-state legitimate civilian representation, but a lot of people would tell you they could argue that. And then we've got this UAP Task Force right now, but before we've had other things, and they always seem to come to the same conclusion, that there is something there, but we have no clue what it is. There's advanced technology, but we don't know who made it, why they made it, how it's working, or what it's for. We just know that it's there. It's difficult to say. So Eric Burlison, to get back to Burlison, he has been on this task force since there's been a task force, and he was on with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp when I noticed a little bit of a difference. He actually kind of shifted from believing that these things were real craft, and maybe even considering the angel and demon thing, to now he's talking about some group, whether that be another country or, I don't know, ultra terrestrials or a hidden society, has this technology that we just do not have. We can't grasp it. And so I thought that was really interesting. So we're going to go ahead and play a couple snippets from that interview here.
Now I know for sure that there's something that's happening. I'm not eliminating the possibility that it could be China, but I am for sure and certain that there is a form of a really advanced physics or an area of physics that we have never seen, a level of technology that we do not have the capabilities of, and it's almost terrifying. It's whether it's China or it's either way, it's an ontological shock.
We know and can prove that there were mortal crimes related to UAP.
So I think that's interesting. What Burleson said right there is, whether it's China or some other country, either way, he has gone through kind of an ontological shock, realizing that these aren't just stories. Like, this is stuff that's happening. these things exist, and the people that have been saying they exist for a long time, hey, maybe they're not so crazy. Now, Corbell turns the attention to possible crimes. And if they have evidence of possible crimes, should they present that to the public? Burlison says, of course, but I would say maybe talk to law enforcement first. But I guess a representative of the House is pretty high up there. Either way, I think this was kind of an interesting turn in the conversation.
George Knapp and I released that. Should
Absolutely.
we tell?
Absolutely. I'm all about transparency. And I think if you've got information, you should be releasing it. We have several next steps. One is we just sent a letter to Pete Hegseth, Tulsi, to Chris Wright, and to I'm blanking, but we just sent a letter. It was signed by myself and many other members of Congress, and we're basically reiterating what the president has said, and then asking for a disclosure to members of Congress. And further, I gave them a list of files that I've become aware of that we gave them the names and the dates of these files. And I have people who are monitoring these files to see if anything happens to them.
Oh shit, you know it's serious when they wrote a letter. Look out, they wrote a letter with a list.
Whether they're deleted or changed.
You were given a list of videos from journalists, maybe?
Yes. From journalists and the UAP Disclosure Fund.
Now this is interesting. He mentions that some of the data that they have received, whether that be a list of videos or the actual videos themselves, it sounds like he was referring to a list of videos, was provided, he made sure to mention, by the UAP Disclosure Fund. Now, the main board of the UAP Disclosure Fund, when it first was originated, was our personal favorite, Luis Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Gary Nolan, and Carl Nell. So it was basically like TTSA Junior. Now on the advisory board, which also is interesting, we have names like Hal Puthoff, Avi Loeb, Eric Davis, Kirk McConnell, Matthew Pines, Timothy Gallaudet, and Mike Gold. How shocked are you that these are the same names we constantly see when it comes to this topic? And the fact that right in your face, they're just going to tell you it's a fucking fund. A fund is to take your money and do what they want with it. It's like, it's all these guys have been doing for years. It's insane. And we're still so if you look at these names, like Eric Weinstein made a really good point about some of the leading physicists in the field. Why are these folks considered the leading physicists when we've literally seen no breakthroughs in 40, 50 years? Nothing. No major innovations, no major movement, just the same crap. All theory, over and over again. And it really does feel like with this cast of characters, it's the same exact thing. We're almost there. We're this close. We're always almost there. We're always this close. Big things are happening. Things are moving. No, they're not. They're not happening. They are happening for these folks and their fund. But are we really any closer now to disclosure, quote unquote, from the government than we were when these assholes came out? Excuse me. These people came out. Honestly, I'm iffy on almost this entire list. I really am. Like, maybe Carl Nell's okay, but I got my doubts about that one too. It's incredible. It's always these guys. Every stinking time. It never fails. You're going to find one of these guys in some organization.
I've had one individual that I'm pretty confident was lying to me. Most people are not lying.
Who's lying?
I don't want to say because I don't want to create an enemy here.
Gee, I wonder who that is. Who is an enemy you could create in that circle of people that you're fucking afraid? I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to let y'all put that math together. So this is what's interesting is the UAP Task Force is preparing to visit known classified sites over the next several months. We're not getting really any details, just innuendos. And of course, they haven't released any list of sites that they're going to. How silly would that be? But we can probably guess they're definitely going to go to Area 51. They're definitely going to go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. As far as other locations, classified locations where this stuff might be, I've heard things like from South Korea to right in the heart of the Silicon Valley. I mean, I have heard these programs are nested all over the place. Sometimes very hard to get to, very discreet locations. Other times, like it's right in front of your face, but you just would never know it's there. These are the things that we hear. So if these representatives on this task force get access to certain sites, we can pretty much assume that they're going to clean house before they get there. So it makes you wonder, like, then what's the point of them going? I guess so they can say they laid eyes on it. I don't know. Maybe somebody dropped a receipt somewhere. I have no idea. To me, if I went to like Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and I was like, so do you guys have underground tunnels? And they said, yeah. I would ask them to show me the underground tunnels. And if I saw a giant room full of like little cryogenic shells with nothing in them, I think it would probably be safe to assume that's where maybe they had some bodies. But who's going to leave something around like that after they clean up? So other than it being some kind of sentimental tour of ufology and UFO lore, I do wonder what they're actually going to get out of this. And so they get into this a little bit, but not much. Just kind of briefly here.
The attempt and the plan to visit various sites, talk to people at various secret sites. What do you think the chances are that you'll get information that would sort of confirm what your suspicions are in light of how good these folks are at hiding things, including hiding them from Congress?
The odds are not very good that they're going to pull a curtain and show me an alien or some kind of craft. But I do think that it's worth going to these locations to at least understand the narrative, understand the context of all of the stories and narratives that we've heard. And then you only got so much time to deal with this, and so much you can't dedicate 100% of your time on this topic. But I do think, for me, I've just in observing AARO, for example, and watching Kirkpatrick. Whenever I met with him, a lot of people had differing opinions about him. But what I picked up was that they had become discouraged themselves. That at least that's what they relayed to me in not so many words, that they followed up on a lot of leads, didn't get anywhere. I don't want to become like that. I don't want to let it get to me, which generally in politics, I've not let things get to me. And so I will just continue to be that happy warrior trying to look for whatever truth I can find.
So there's Dr. John Kozlowski, and he is now running AARO. Since he has began running AARO, when he first took over, he talked a lot about pushing new information, new data, new documents, new files, about pushing those out and making sure that we have everything that is possibly available without breaking any laws, right? And ruining any classifications, anything like that. But what we've seen since Dr. Kozlowski has been in charge of AARO is kind of the opposite. We've gotten like a handful of reports. They've released some videos and they have released some files, but not the amount that you think should be there. Like there are literally, thousands of these files. And what we've seen come out since Kozlowski has been in charge as far as media goes is next to nothing. I mean, could count it on a hand as far as like files, videos, things like that go. So you go to the AARO website and they have those videos that they've uploaded, but those are from a long time ago. There doesn't seem to be anything new. And just like the video that I started this space with, this stream with, you see that video that was from the AARO website. And you saw that thing, whatever it was, do some pretty crazy stuff, especially considering it's right next to an active volcano. So we have like 11 minutes of that, and I cut it down significantly, but we had 11 minutes of that. This drone following whatever this thing is, and then AARO tells us it's a balloon. Look, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a video analytics person. So AARO is supposed to be like the legitimate, aerospace folks that are supposed to be helping us. They are not. They have not released full data sets, raw radar data, high quality multi-sensor footage, classified case files, or any UAP related material for that matter, since Kozlowski's takeover. So Kirk Burlison is saying, those guys at AARO, they felt discouraged, they felt, defeated, this and that and the other. That switches leadership from Kirkpatrick to Kozlowski, and it appears they still feel that way, and now we're getting even less information, and the information that comes out seems to always have a prosaic explanation. Very few of the stuff that they've released, I think it's less than a dozen, have they assigned, no known way. They're unaware of how this is functioning like this, and they don't know what it is. But it's like less than a dozen that are labeled that way. So AARO, I wish they were what they were supposed to be, but I would imagine that if Burlison is saying that people there are feeling defeated and like crap, it's probably because they're not allowed to tell us everything. They're not allowed to really analyze the stuff they want to analyze. There's some reason. I mean, you had a passion for this, and that's why you got on the AARO team or whatever. And then if you join that team and they do nothing but make it difficult for you to present this information to the public, I would understand feeling defeated. I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm just saying if that were the case, I would certainly understand that. Would certainly understand folks being upset about not being able to do what they thought they were going to be able to do. Now, New Mexico is interesting because for the last several months, there have been multiple reports of orbs and strange things in the sky. I mean, New Mexico is the home for strangeness, right, in the sky. But especially recently, the last several months, there's been a lot of reports of activity specifically involving orbs that are all throughout the sky. And I think this is interesting because, of course, New Mexico is where missing General McCasland has not been found, going on 3 weeks now. And we find out that before then, we had several reports of weird things in the sky. And we've just recently also discovered that one of his associates is also missing. So it's getting interesting. When I first heard about the story, I didn't jump on it. I just wanted to evaluate it and see, what happened, because I know they put out a silver alert, which typically means it's something related to like a senior who's maybe lost or having some kind of mental issue, and they need help getting back home. So I figured, hey, a silver alert, something like that, it's probably a health thing. Let's just wait and see what happens before we go and try and connect this to UFO stuff, right? Like sometimes bad stuff just happens. And yes, bad stuff just happens even to amazing people like this. So I'm going to get more into that here in just a moment. But before we get into that, we're going to look at just a couple of cases. Now, one I'm pretty sure is just the planet Venus. And I wouldn't have even cut it in if it weren't for this helicopter hovering and watching this thing. So I don't know. You tell me what you think. But we're going to look at a few orbs. Now, the first ones are here in Shiprock, New Mexico. Pretty incredible stuff. It is very dark, and it is hard to see some of it there, but you could see there was at least 3 separate orbs just moving all over the place. Now, could those be drones? It's possible. It's possible. It's possible all these things can be drones, right? We need to maintain our thoughtfulness and thoroughness and make sure we're considering all possibilities. So those could absolutely have been drones. And if they're not, it's pretty incredible stuff that we were witnessing there. Now, this one, I'm not so sure if this is incredible, but the person filming it certainly thought it was incredible. So again, this was about 3 weeks ago in the New Mexico area.
Okay, I'm driving on Shenandoah Drive, and there's this light out there hovering.
Now, I see that, and I'm like, oh, that's just like Venus. But then he points out the helicopter that does appear to be focused in on it. And then there's also a shot towards the end where it does appear to be lowering under the hill. And it's hard to tell if it's motion from the light or if it's just motion of the earth. You tell me. We'll check it out here.
I don't know what it is, what it's doing. Sorry for the vibrations. I'm in my car. There's a helicopter nearby. It seems to be watching, monitoring it. There's the helicopter, and you can see he's got a flashing light. And then there's this guy.
Oops. So, around it too much. I apologize, y'all. Okay, here we go. So at this point, he stopped the car. We saw the helicopter in position. The helicopter's still there while he has stopped the car and he's filming here. So if it is Venus, I would say, I guess the helicopter is maybe trying to get a good shot of it too. I don't know.
And there's a helicopter out there. He's got a flashing light. And he's been moving around this thing that just seems to be just hovering. Whoa, it's doing some weird things with lights.
Now, what do y'all think? I think your eyes could probably... I think Venus could definitely look like that, given certain atmospheric conditions. He needs that that app. I don't know if y'all have ever messed with that, like the star chart app or whatever it's called. You can just hold it up to the sky and it'll tell you. But this is the part, like, is that motion from the light or just natural earth motion? Is it him moving the camera? It's hard to tell. But interesting nonetheless. So, and look, that was just 2 videos. There, you can go ahead, check with your AI, search it online, whatever it is you do to do your research. There have been multiple, more than usual, reports of orbs and lights in the skies starting about 3 weeks ago. And I am not saying they're related. I'm just pointing out correlations, right? I've said it many times on this show. Correlation doesn't equal causation, but I'm still going to point it out. So, like, from a few weeks ago, we've been getting an increased amount of reports of orbs and lights in the sky in just the state of New Mexico in general. The first one we saw was at Shiprock, which is a beautiful monument. And the second we just viewed was in Santa Fe. Now there's many others out there you can go and find. I just didn't want to look at orb videos for 2 hours. But there's a lot of them. So as I was saying before, the General McCasland thing, I was just waiting to see what happened because of the silver alert, because it could be because possible mental issues or capacities, in respect for, the family and everything else. I just thought, let's just see what happens here. But at this point, it's getting strange because the things that are missing were his gun and a backpack, and that's about it. And then he left behind his cell phone, his wearables, all this stuff he wouldn't typically leave behind because he's kind of an outdoorsman guy. He likes to go hiking and things like that. His wife said he only uses the gun for self-defense or on rare occasions when they go camping. I think protection is what she said. Protection and camping, essentially. Well, I don't think he ran out the door without his phone and his wearable to go camping. But at this point, it seems like he did leave with his .38. There's no signs of a struggle, which is strange. There's no blood anywhere at or around the scene at either of the homes. And then his partner goes missing, and it gets very strange. So let's take a look at kind of how this has developed, how we got here. And then I'm going to share a recent interview Cuomo did with the FBI about the partner that's missing. I don't know if it's Mrs. or Miss, but Miss Reza, who has also gone missing. It makes you wonder a lot of things, but does this have to do with the, pending Trump saying he's going to push for the release of new files? Could this be some kind of intelligence operation from like another country trying to get information from him? There's just so many things this could be, and I think that's why it's caught so many people's interest, because it just seems so strange the way he goes missing. And let's look at the details and you'll see how strange it is.
Been more than 2 weeks since retired Air Force General Neil McCasland was last seen, and the search is now expanding to a neighboring state. Investigators say they found this Air Force sweatshirt about a mile from his New Mexico home, but McCasland's family said they have no reason to think it actually belongs to him. McCasland's wallet, .38 caliber revolver, and a leather holster are unaccounted for, but his hiking boots were found at his vacation home in Colorado. He's an avid outdoorsman, and the local sheriff in Albuquerque said searchers have canvassed trails and hundreds of area properties on foot, by air, using drones, dogs, and horses. Investigators said the 68-year-old aerospace engineer had been experiencing what they called mental fog, but they have no information he was disoriented when he left home on foot February 27th.
So the verified timelining, or time
state.
I'm so sorry, y'all. So he was experiencing mental fog, but they don't expand on that too much. Essentially, what we'll hear here in this press conference, and I have clipped this up so it's a little more digestible, but what we're going to hear at this press conference is this gentleman say he left with the wallet and the gun, and that is unusual. Like everything that he left behind is completely irregular for this person, and that the fog in the brain was because of one report they had heard about, which is why he had left an organization or two, and that's where they got the brain fog. But essentially what we find out in this press conference is that the lieutenant took that and issued the silver alert because he thought that would get more attention, that was a wider net to cast, and so he put out the silver alert. So this whole thing may not have anything to do with brain fog or a silver alert, him being an older gentleman, none of that.
A repairman was at the residence and he interacted with Mr. McCasland. And as you move over at 11:10 a.m., Mrs. McCasland, Wilkerson, left for a medical appointment. At 12:04 p.m., Mr. McCasland returned home, or Mrs. McCasland returned home, and Mr. McCasland was not there. 3:07 p.m., items at the home, phone, prescription glasses, wearable devices. He was reported missing, and Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office responded, took a report, and the investigation began into a missing persons case. We did provide a neighborhood canvas, and it was expanded and it was vast. It was 700 homes. This is when you saw us come out in the media to ask and go with our QR code for any video, for any intel, for any technology devices that you had, for any recordings of Mr. McCasland. We will exhaust every lead and go over every tip that we have. Video request and review is still ongoing. Search efforts have included drones, helicopter support, ground operations, and numerous canine searches. There has been no confirmed video or sighting showing the direction of travel that Mr. McCasland took when he was reported missing at 3:07 on that day. We were conducting a Pagosa Springs home that was searched, and it is ongoing. Items located during the search, as you can see here, is a United States Air Force shirt. It's a gray U.S. Air Force sweatshirt located approximately 1.25 miles east of the residence on March 7th.
Okay, but they say that sweater is not his, which makes it even fucking weirder. So did somebody maybe abduct him and leave that to like throw people off? Or did they leave it as like a sign? Or did somebody just forget their fucking sweater at the park? But it's important enough, at least to this sheriff's department, that they expanded the search based on it, and now are sharing it with the national news. So I don't know if they know more than they're letting on, but they do believe this sweater is important, even though his family, his wife, has said that's not even his sweater.
It was collected and processed. No blood was detected in the initial processing. Not confirmed by family or friends to be associated with Mr. McCasland, but since this evidence did have United States Air Force and we are still testing it, we take every lead into an account, and we're making sure that that lead takes us somewhere and it will still be logged into evidence. That is also where the Federal Bureau of Investigation assisted us and numerous other detectives to not only do a neighborhood canvass, but a grid search of the area to look for any other evidence in the field, on paths, or any other known area of travel that Mr. McCasland took. Everybody's asking why a silver alert on Mr. McCasland. With New Mexico state statute, a silver alert does not require a formal diagnosis of any mental deterioration. The reason being also is because Mr. McCasland is over 50 years of age. He did state that he was experiencing a mental fog, and because of this information that we received, we decided to do a silver alert. Items recently located is a light green long sleeve button-up outdoor shirt, hiking boots, but please remember, let's be practical. Mr. McCasland probably had more than one pair of hiking boots. Located at his Pagosa Springs house were these items. Items that are still unaccounted for are his wallet, a .38 caliber revolver, and a leather holster.
Is there anything more you could say about the reported mental fog that McCasland was reported to have been feeling at that time, and then just on top of that, anything he might have expressed regarding other behavioral issues, depression, or thoughts of suicide?
Not in regards to the latter half of your question, behavioral issues, thoughts of suicide, no. The mental fog is pretty much what it is. That was his statement about what he was experiencing. That was cited as reasons for stepping down from some different groups that he was working with. There's no indication, and we are not putting forward, that Mr. McCasland was disoriented, confused. Arguably, he would still be the most intelligent person in the room that any of us would be in.
And that's a big statement, because they're saying, first off, they don't think he was confused, right? Like, they think he was fine. And second off, even if he did have brain fog, he'd still be smarter than you and me put together, probably. What's up, Psionic the Hedgehog? Good to see you, buddy. Brain fog, he says, Psionic says a brain fog could be related to DWs. Maybe he's been hit with Havana at recent employers and got the word to go underground. Possibly, because when you think about what he took his gun, his wallet, and his backpack. That's the, oh shit, here we go package, right? That's not a normal to go. That's not typically what you grab as you're heading out the door. I mean, unless you're an officer or something. Most of us aren't running out the door with our 30. I mean, some of us are. God bless America. We got the right to carry here, right? But a lot of us, especially a guy that goes hiking, he's supposedly retired general. You wouldn't think, his wife says he only messes with that 38 when on the rare occasions when they go camping, and it's primarily for protection. So instantly what goes to mind is protection. He's not going camping. So he grabbed the 38 for protection. He grabbed the wallet for, I probably have it. We can't leave the house without our wallet, right? We're in trouble if we leave the house without the wallet. And the red backpack with God knows what in it. Very interesting.
Highly intelligent, highly capable, but that information was given to us early on, and out of an abundance of caution, we escalated to a silver alert to try to garner as much public attention as possible to try to help locate him as soon as possible. Mr. McCasland had wearable devices. He was an avid outdoorsman, and we were able to access those devices, see the history of where he commonly went. The Elena Gallegos area into the Domingo Baca Canyon was a commonly visited place. That, in conjunction with interviews with those who were outdoors with him, indicated that was a favored area to go, especially into the upper parts of the canyon. So we focused our search efforts there first, moving east from his residence, essentially due east from his neighborhood into that area.
You mentioned that McCasland is if he was in this room, he'd be the most intelligent person likely. So is there any heightened reason to find him based on his roles with the Air Force and the security clearance he could have had?
I think that'd be a reasonable assumption, yes. But then just the dignity of any individual that goes missing. But certainly there's that concern, although we have no specific information indicating, again, there's been any form of foul play. There's not been any prior communication that we've identified through his electronic devices or the home electronic devices that would lead us to believe there was anything unique going on with that.
He grabbed his wallet and his backpack and his gun and took off, didn't even tell the wife where he was going. But there's no signs of foul play. Not sure about that. I mean, maybe just so you're implying he just wanted to leave the wife and the life? He was just done with it? It's like, fuck it, all I need is my 38. my wallet and what I can throw here in this backpack. I don't know. I mean, I don't know Miss General McCasland, so I can't say, but doesn't seem like that would be something he would do just based on his life that he has built there.
When there's that conspiracy theory groups that come up with these outlandish claims or rabbit holes.
Well, just because it's crazy doesn't mean it's not true, but we have to look into the realities. And so we look in.
I do love that quote. I know we've all kind of seen it the last few days, but I love hearing that from a law enforcement official, right? Because it means that they have an open mind and they understand the world that we're living in. Crazy shit happens all the fucking time. This could 100% be some insane thing related to UFOs. It could be something related to, like the information and the knowledge that he has, possibly on some advanced technology. I mean, we are at war with another country. Maybe there's some people that want to try to pry that information out of a retired general that wouldn't see it coming. I mean, who knows? But what comes to my mind when I hear about what was taken is that seems like maybe he was going to meet someone that maybe he didn't trust all the way. I don't know. Or like Psionic says, maybe he got hit by a DW and he got the code beep on his phone that was like, hey, time to leave the ship behind and head to the tunnels. I don't know. But just because it's crazy doesn't mean it's not true. It's a very, very accurate statement.
Into what's brought to us, and then we have to pursue what facts we can find, as the sheriff indicated. I appreciate that there's a community that wants to go down the rabbit hole of UFOs. I don't have a way with which to pursue that. And so those theories have to be set aside unless we were to find something that indicated that. So we can only go off of fact at this point. Can't speculate about some of that in terms of who may or may not be at risk based on what information he knows. And so I'm not going to. To answer your first question, can we rule out whether or not he was taken or something nefarious having occurred? We can't definitively rule out much at this point with what we have, which is why we're investigating every possible lead that we can. We do have surveillance video that captures both ends of parts of that street. We are combing through that, as well as surveillance that we've received from the rest of the community. We are combing through that. We've done in-depth interviews, not just knock on a door, have you seen this individual, but very in-depth interviews with everyone in the immediate area, and we have absolutely nothing that would suggest anything nefarious has occurred or did occur in that time frame for what we were looking at. So to answer your question, we haven't ruled anything out, but we have nothing pointing us to it either. Well, we've followed up with questions of his wife. He wouldn't commonly hike with a weapon on him. That would be relegated for maybe overnight camping trips and things of that sort, and then it was for personal protection. I know that our office saw anywhere from a dozen to 20 investigators over the weekend when we were doing the canvass out on foot. The FBI brought in somewhere around that same number of people from their local office. They brought in some to support that mission. They brought out their command post to support that mission. We've been in communication with OSI. I believe there's 2 or 3 main points of contact with them. We've communicated with the Air Force, although they have not been out on the search with us.
And then regarding the scope of our assistance to Bernalillo County, it's been via interviews and intelligence analysis as well as surveillance. We've assisted with aerial and geospatial mapping, and we also had our behavioral analysis unit come in and review the case file and provide us with some helpful information.
So the Air Force, the FBI, field team, and behavioral analysis team. Psionic, oh man, you got some crazy theory here. Let's see. This is Psionic says, rumor is the DAD and Department of Justice have departments that are splitting based on loyalty to party versus loyalty to state. This could be the start of a splinter movement. Food for thought. Very interesting. Wow. Yeah, you've been doing some digging on this. And I think that's a scary thought, right? We hear about the country having some kind of like new civil war, but we don't talk much about inside the government, the internal battles that are going on. And you know they're going on. Of course they're happening. We hear about people getting laid off, fired all the time, and new people getting hired into positions. So we know it's a constant battle. That's just the stuff that we see with the big names, right? Think about behind the closed doors, what that's like for those people. It's probably extremely cutthroat, and you probably get some heated folks and some heated debates there. So we've got the FBI helping, and I think that that's kind of normal that the FBI would help. And then the Air Force stepping in, but he didn't say the Air Force helped. He just said they like came and, I don't know, checked it out, gave them some information or something. Well, what information would the Air Force think the sheriffs there need to know, or the FBI needs to know?
So could the Bureau's role expand? Could you be bringing in more special agents?
We can assist Bernalillo County sheriffs with whatever they need. It's one team, one fight. We have a phenomenal relationship with them. And so if Sheriff Allen and Lieutenant Woods need more resources, we'll give them to them.
Why do you think this case has spawned so much national and international attention?
I just believe pretty much the title. General working out on the base, and the conspiracy theories started coming in. We get a lot of attention on missing persons cases, but the title of Mr. McCasland, and then what he did previously, that's always going to garner any type of interest. And then specifically with the questions that came over here when the FBI is involved, what's gone on with the Guthrie case, things around the nation, the heat of the nation right now, it's going to garner a lot of attention.
Have you had a chance to speak to the last person to have seen him, the repairman that was at the house? And if so, have you been able to clear him?
Yes.
That person is cleared?
Yes.
About a part of his regimented schedule about leaving or not leaving a cell phone, is that?
That was my first question too. Who is this repairman? It's almost always the last person that sees him alive. I mean, not almost always, but very often the last person that sees him alive is responsible or knows like what happened. Clearly they're not just going to tell us who that was, but maybe they'll come out one day and on a podcast and shed some light on it. Because to me, I know they said they cleared him, but what did you clear him of? How far is he clear? Is there any question at all?
Normal for him,
No.
According to his wife?
No, his wearable devices and taking his phone were common practice with him. That is out of the norm.
So, I mean, by these facts alone, shouldn't this be considered a more suspicious case? Aren't these raising your hairs as an investigator?
We are looking at every aspect of it. This is why it has the footprint it does. We said from the get-go that this was an abnormal behavior by his part, and thus we are looking at every possible aspect of it and willing to unturn any stone that we can in order to help identify where Mr. McCasland is.
I was just wondering,
I love that it's completely abnormal, but it's not nefarious. Shut the fuck. Yes, it's abnormal and probably very much nefarious.
We're going to the 4th week of this search for Mr. McCasland, and just at what point, or does it change it for you guys? Has this turned into a recovery mission, or are you still hoping he's alive? If so, or if it's either or, how does that change the investigation, the tools that you guys will be using?
The hope is always present that he's alive, right? And I think it'd be foolish to say otherwise. But it would also be unwise for us to not recognize that the alternate could be a possibility. And we're aware of that. And if we receive information that would lead this to become a recovery mission, we would pursue that with the same vigor we have this investigation thus far, and try to do that as best as possible. We are many weeks in, and if he were to have gone into the mountains, the likelihood of surviving this time frame would be very low.
Yeah, I don't think he went to the mountains. Call me crazy, but I just have a hunch that's not where he went. Again, we got a guy that ultra intelligent, right? Like very, very smart, and has worked on a lot of programs that require clearances in the past. And, God, the theories, is it UFO related? Is it UFO adjacent? Is it intelligence related? Is it intelligence adjacent? Is it the old man's just gone off his rocker and took off to God knows where? It really could be so many things, and you try making sense of this in your head, and then you find out, oh, by the way, his longtime partner has gone missing as well. What? Like, this can't be real, right? Oh, but it is. It is.
Retired Air Force Major General Neil McCasland vanished after being seen leaving his home in New Mexico on foot 3 weeks ago. Okay, investigators are now looking into the disappearance of his former colleague, Monica Reza. Is there a connection? Let's bring in former FBI special agent in charge of the FBI's Tucson office, Mr. Andrew Black. Good to see you again, sir. What's your take?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, this connection is so compelling that you can't ignore it, right? The investigators can't ignore it. The fact that they both devoted a major portion of their career to aerospace engineering and technology, and had access and knowledge of some of the most sophisticated and sensitive classified information in this field, you can't ignore it. It'd be interesting to find out what they were working on before they left the Air Force. And was it so vital and so critical that a foreign hostile government would see this as a benefit to them to abduct the two of them? It seems kind of hard to believe, but you can't ignore this compelling connection. I think this is beyond coincidence. You have to track it down.
Well, the fact that they're both Air Force, what's the chance that a high up officer in the Air Force wouldn't be connected to some kind of aerospace technology that would be intriguing?
Yeah, she worked on a project involving metal alloy for weapon systems, and that program was directly under the chain of command of General McCasland. So there's that connection. You can't ignore it. It may be coincidence. It's quite a coincidence that two individuals would disappear under such unusual circumstances, almost, in broad daylight.
Right, but she was long before him, no, in terms of going missing, right?
Yeah, she's been missing for almost 9 months now, and she was with a companion who lost sight of her for just a minute or less, and he turned back, and she had disappeared. It's possible she fell off the ridge. She was in the Los Angeles National Forest. There are high peaks there, and they've been searching for her, and without any results. They found an article of clothing from her about 1,000 yards off the ridge, but that's all we found of her.
All right. Well, listen, Andrew, I appreciate it very much, Mr. Black. We will keep discussing it as we learn more. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Subscribe.
Insane, right? So it's not like it's a terrible, tragic thing that happens with her. I don't know how you go off a side of a cliff in Los Angeles area and your body's not found. I don't know how that happens. You just find a piece of clothing. Okay. But then 9 months later, 8.5 months later, whatever, your boss, gone. Gone with a bag, a gun, and his wallet. Like, that's the I'm ready to take care of fucking business pack, right? Was he going to help his old protege? Fuck. Y'all, I don't know. I mean, I think in 15, 20 years, when maybe we sort of get the full story on this, it's going to be a shocker. I think we all kind of feel like this is weird. This is full on craziness weird. That and I'm not saying it's related to UFOs or aerospace at all. Like I don't know. Just like the rest of you. If you do know, you better tell somebody. I'm just playing. But yeah, I don't know. But it's clear to me, I don't think that this was a case of dementia where he was just lost and how could you remember to bring your wallet, and why would you remember to bring your pistol if you're having a senior, kind of crazy moment? It just doesn't make sense. He intentionally took the pistol, he intentionally took the backpack, he intentionally took the wallet. He doesn't need fucking hiking boots. All right? He can get around a pair of Skechers. It doesn't matter. I don't know why we're stuck on hiking boots. Does he have other shoes? I'm sure he has other shoes. I don't think he took off barefoot. So it's not the detail to get stuck on. The detail to get stuck on is why the 38. Why the 38? I'm a gun owner myself. It is for protection. We have taken it camping, but that's about it. I don't leave the house with it. Not unless I was very concerned of what might happen after I leave the house. I don't think you can stop an alien with a bullet. So I don't think he was abducted by aliens like some of these other folks have said. But I do think he had to go meet someone. Whether it was friend or foe, clearly it was someone he didn't keep in touch with digitally. Right? This is like old school spycraft stuff. They didn't find anything on his phone that would point to why he just suddenly took off like that. Not a message, not a phone call, Not a voicemail, nothing. So could he have gone out, checked his stash spot for where he's supposed to send and receive messages, and got a message that said, "We need to see you here now." And then poof, he's gone. I don't know. I think that's more likely than him being abducted by aliens, because I just don't think you would take a 38 and a backpack if aliens came down and abducted you. I just don't see that happening. Could it have been a very clean robbery gone wrong? I suppose that's possible. But then those officers stated in that press conference they have access to the 2 cameras at the end of the streets. So they would see any cars or any people coming in and coming out of there. They would get tips. They would have clues. They would have something to go on, something to build their case and investigation on. So I think that they are going to have to ask for additional help from the FBI, because where do they go from here? They have basically searched all of the areas they know he would hike. They investigated the neighborhood over where they found the Air Force sweater, which is another thing that can drive you wild, because did someone just randomly forget their Air Force sweater in a park at this exact moment when this investigation is going on, looking for this retired Air Force general? That's possible. But I can tell you that when detectives, in particularly homicide detectives, look into a case, I know that they don't believe in coincidences. They just don't. Not that they can't happen, but for purpose of the investigation, we're going to assume there's no such thing as coincidence. A coincidence is a connection. And you need to dig deeper into that connection. So there's an Air Force sweater 1.5 miles away from his house that shows up right after he goes missing that's not his. Yeah, they're doing the right thing by tagging it, bagging it, asking questions, seeing what they can find. Maybe there's no blood, but are there prints? Are there threads from other places? Is there soil from other places? So they do need to look into that. Whatever that may be. If it's a bad guy trying to confuse people, if it's him trying to confuse people, or if Ted just left his fucking sweater at the park, because that's a possibility as well. However, if we go with the no coincidence approach, it's related. It is 100% related. So why would someone, it had to either have been the general himself or the person that could possibly be responsible for taking them that left that sweater. But the sweater could be obviously just a decoy. Fascinating stuff, y'all. I never thought I would spend so much time talking about a fucking sweater. But here I am. Traveling Fools 2020, what's up? Glad you're here. Glad to see you. Glad you're hanging out with us. Just trying to figure out this crazy case. Now, I did point out like the orbs and other stuff like that is also happening in the same area several weeks earlier. That's a good question. Sonic wants to know if it's a licensed hoodie. Sure, I can get one online for $40. Yeah. The official is a $60 one that no one is going to carelessly ditch unless I'm... Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the official Air Force hoodie, or if that's the kind you can get at, Ross or something, Marshalls, Burlington Coat Factory, Air Force hoodie. I don't know. But definitely related, I think. Now there was the orb thing. If you have all these suspected connections to UAP, UFO, then of course a bunch of orbs and reports of orbs showing up in your state several weeks before, well, at that point it would have just been several days before you go missing. That's another one where it's like, is that coincidence? We're not supposed to believe in coincidence. So connection. So connection to weird sky activity. General goes missing. Air Force sweater. And then, oh, by the way, 9 months prior to this, the general's protege went missing. Now, it thinks you might have fell off a cliff in Los Angeles, but all we ever recovered was a piece of clothing. Huh? What you talking about? Doesn't make any damn sense. It's at LA. Is there any place that crazy wild in LA where they couldn't retrieve a body other than like there's a fire blazing or something? Maybe one or two spots, I don't know. But what's the likelihood of that? The person she was with said they had their back turned to her for just a moment, and they turn around and poof, she's gone. Yeah, she must have fell off the cliff. Okay. Well, I think that if you are in the aerospace industry, I hope you're being careful. I know that Matthew Brown recently did an interview. Shout out Matthew Brown. We love you here. Where he was saying that basically he believes there's people on X that are strategically and intentionally driving experiencers to the brink. I'm sorry, y'all. I just got Psionic's comment down here. It makes so much sense as a lifespan of on a Clinton intern. Amen, buddy. Holy moly. How crazy. Yes. We're gonna have to do a video on that sometime. I know we've done some on the Clintons, but we're gonna have to do one on the Clinton deaths sometime, and hope that YouTube doesn't block it for whatever reason they usually block most of my controversial videos for. All right. Aerospace engineer goes missing. 9 months later, her old mentor goes missing. No clues other than what he took with him. Yeah, I gotta say, Personally, in my opinion, I think he was out to meet someone he didn't trust. And they probably got the better of him. I don't know the details, but to me, when I look at what evidence is left, that's what it seems like. It seems like, oh shit, I gotta go meet Ray. I don't quite trust Ray, but I gotta fucking meet Ray. I don't have a choice. Let me grab 38 and let me grab this pack full of whatever and my wallet. We'll go meet Ray. And I think Ray got him. Obviously, or he would have been back, right? Oy vey. It is such an unfortunate thing because I think the man still had so much to say, so much to contribute. And maybe that was the problem. Maybe they didn't want him saying anything or contributing anything. Alien Protocols, I see you. What's up? Thank you so much for hanging out. Y'all are great. I really appreciate you. So yeah, if you have theories on this case, drop them in the chat, drop them in the comments below, because it's so crazy. It's just so fucking crazy. And then we just had Guthrie go missing. Now the details in that case are definitely different. Like there was blood at the scene. They had somebody offer her up for a ransom. So that's all kinds of a different kind of weird. This is like, this cat got grabbed. Like he had to go somewhere very important, a place where he was concerned about, which is why he took the gun. And wherever he went, they were prepared. And I don't know from there, if they would want him dead or alive. I hope to God alive. So for whatever reason. But it is, it's a crazy time right now, folks. So we are at war as well. And we know there are people in this country from Iran that don't like this country. Now, is that likely what happened? Probably not. But it's a possibility as well. That's interesting, Psionic, that you would say that. So you agree with Matthew Brown. You've been on UFOX for 7 years now. Yeah, I'm a newbie there. I used to multiple sick accounts to avoid the agents for. Wow, the loot crew is real. Yep, and yeah, and not the only group to avoid. Absolutely, if there's one group that gets nailed for it, that gets called out, there's at least like 10 more doing it, right? It's like the shoplifting thing, I think. It's unfortunate because I think, I don't know about Elizondo and all those guys. I don't know. I just don't like Elizondo and all those guys. I don't like bullies. I don't like people that are greedy as hell, completely into themselves, and bully other people to get what they want. I do not like that. And that's all that group of folks is to me. So it's a bummer when I hear Eric Burlison say like, oh, Lou Elizondo, yeah. You could trust that guy. What are you talking about? That guy has fucked over so many people. And lied and manipulated and cheated and whatever else he could get away with. And y'all think he's like a good, honest person? Okay. All right. I do think Dylan Borland. I do think Matthew Brown. And who is the last witness at the George Knapp hearing? I'm not going to think of his name. He was the sailor that saw the ships coming out of the ocean. I want to say it started with a W. His last name was a W. It'll come to me later. Anyway, I did like those cats. I do like those gentlemen. I think everything they say, they're being genuine with. They're being honest with. Some of the other ones, I don't know. Amen, Psionic. Psionic's dad always said, I can lead you to water. It's up to you if you drink or drown. Amen. Amen. And I do get that vibe from Matthew Brown, that's what he's trying to do, is lead people to water. Same with Dylan Borland. Lou Elizondo, not so much. Who was that other guy? Cahill, not so much. I think that, I just don't like bullies, you know? Like this guy, who's the guy that's going to be the, he just got proved, Christopher Mullen, guy that tried to start a fight on the Senate floor. Not a big fan of his either. Okay. So to me, I think what I have worked out here is that this this Air Force general was taken outside of his home. I think he went to meet someone. It went south, and I think it was taken outside of his home. The UAP Task Force going to sites like Area 51, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and numerous others that have been rumored to hold these secrets. I don't know if that's going to do them any good. We're talking about an organization, or organizations, could be plural, that have managed to hide this information for decades and decades and decades. I would have to think that they are prepared for a government walkthrough at any moment. They probably have most of them probably have a button they can hit that covers, hides, or gets rid of anything that would implicate them in anything. I would not be surprised. I heard a rumor that there are a lot of alien bodies in a building in Silicon Valley. I don't know how true that is, but I did hear that. Where unless you knew it, and unless you knew the secret, passageways and things like that, you'd never know it. It looked like just a normal technology type office. But inside, there's some weird stuff. Reminds me of like Terminator 2, right? The Skynet in the 90s before it became like Skynet. When they were just developing this program. Oh, we got this future arm, and we're going to design this whole thing out of it. It's going to be really cool. Messing with technology they have no business messing with because they hadn't invented it yet. Reverse engineering this technology. Boy, that sounds familiar. And then creating our own downfall, right? Creating the fate of the machines taking us down. And in that series, I thought it was interesting because it didn't matter. It seemed to not matter what they did. It was going to turn out the way it was going to turn out. Interesting how that works. So yeah, I think they'll have some interesting stories to tell from these task force visiting these sites, but I don't think they're going to find anything new. And I think it's kind of a waste of time. And how many more whistleblowers can we hear before something moves in that capacity? Like, we constantly hear that they cannot share information that would be critical to them finding out the truth without talking to the representatives in the skiff. But when you do the research, the skiff never happens. The skiff never happens. And David Grush's instance, he was going to go into now this is a story he told and Luna repeated. He was going to go into a skiff to speak with them, but somebody threatened him with a gun on his way in that day. I have tried to FOIA 3 different law enforcement agencies in DC to see if I can prove what he's saying happened. None of them will give me any information. So if you're like a reporter or you're a FOIA specialist, I would encourage you to try to find that information, because I'm an asshole if it's true, but if it's not true, he's kind of an asshole. I mean, how do you work and help the UAP Task Force, but you can't tell them anything? Like, it's just such bullshit. So yeah, Grush, not exactly my favorite, only because I feel like he is not helping, right? Like, he's not helping this task force find the truth. If he wanted to help, he would have went into that like, okay, the day you were scheduled to go in, somebody threatened you at gunpoint. What about the next day, or the day after, or the day after, or the day after? Like, I could keep going. Why has it still not been done? Why haven't all these cats, like Dylan Borland? There was a bunch of questions where he's like, I can't tell you that. I don't even think I can tell you that. Well, why don't they go and figure that out? Maybe they don't want to. I don't know. Very interesting stuff. So the general, let's say our prayers for the general tonight. If you do such things, meditate on the general. If you do such things, whatever it is, let's send him and his wife and his family some positive energy the best way we know how, because they need it. We talk about the case and we talk about all the different things that could be happening. But let's not forget, like, in the middle of this is a real person surrounded by people that really love him, that want him to be okay. So I hope everything works out good for the general. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. Kind of a shorter episode on the UFO news, but really, until we get some kind of movement from this UAP task force, I don't think there's going to be a lot of UFO news. I'm still going to report on it every week like I do, but the actual legitimate stuff that's impacting things, it's fewer and farther between, y'all. This case with this general is very substantial because if this means the thing that we're, I think, afraid it could mean, then we're in trouble. Like, we're in trouble. I hope that's not the case. I really do. I pray for it. Thank you, Psionic. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time on the Gabriel Speaks podcast. Have a fantastic night, and I'll see you next time.